Can you guess how much money the United States spent last year on the police and military budget? Keep that number in your head for me. Now, can you guess how much money the United States spent last year on the healthcare budget? What about other social programs like homelessness? According to Vox, an American news website, the United States spent $100 billion on policing last year. Now, compared to how much we spent on healthcare, according to USA Facts, a consumer data website, the United States only spent about $56 billion on healthcare. That is a huge gap between how funds are being distributed between society. That brings me to my next question. How many of you have heard of the phrase defund the police? How many of you believe that defund means demolish? So, there has been an interesting conversation following the topic of defunding the police. I know this year has been a year for movements, a year for change, and a year for learning. This summer, the New York Times reported that the United States had the highest number of protests ever. They reported 26 million Americans protested in the month of June. It is no coincidence that defunding the police has been on the forefront of these protests. Like I mentioned earlier, the United States is highly overfunding policing but neglecting basic human needs such as education, housing, and healthcare. Today, I want to talk about how I believe you all should consider to support defunding the police by discussing how policing is highly overfunded, how police are being asked too much of their job duties, and how policing does not keep us safe. The time to get involved is right now. Change needs to happen within the way America uses police officers. Let's get started by talking about overfunding. You should consider supporting to defund the police because policing is overfunded. Defunding the police means reallocating funds to other social programs such as homelessness, drug addiction, healthcare, welfare, and education. A study done by the U.S. Department of Education found that many schools in the U.S. are investing in police officers but not healthcare workers. American children are experiencing funding for school police officers instead of social workers, guidance counselors, and psychologists. These issues do not just affect major cities, this also affects local schools. During the Tullahoma protest over the summer, I learned Tullahoma High School did not have the team of mental health care workers students truly needed. So, on June 13th, I made a sign and protested for the students at Tullahoma High School to have access to a social worker and a school psychologist. On June 15th, the Tullahoma City Schools' $35 million budget passed, which included 3 new positions that were voted in. That included a new school psychologist, another social worker, and an educator for behavior modifications, all of which focus greatly on students' mental health and less on law and order. I mean, these are school children, not criminals. You should consider supporting to defund the police because we are asking too much from our officers. David Brown, a former Dallas police chief, said it best by stating, "Every societal failure, we put it on the cops to solve. Not enough mental health funding, let the cops handle it. Not enough drug addiction funding, let's give it to the cops. Schools fail, give it to the cops." Policing was never meant to solve all of these problems. We were meant to reallocate them to different programs. Police are experiencing a work overload. Mental health calls should not result in an arrest. We should reprioritize how we treat humans and how we utilize police officers, such as using crisis teams and mental health workers for medical calls, not police officers with a gun. Police were not intended to be civil servants, but peacekeepers. As Americans, We are asking too much of officers, and it is creating a job duty that is too big to fill. We put too many jobs and responsibilities on our officers. By agreeing policing is overloaded, society can help police relieve their workload on other social solutions. It is time we start putting services in place that actually help make their jobs easier, such as crisis teams, drug addiction, and mental health programs. We need to delegate their responsibilities better. As Americans, we owe our officers better. You should consider supporting to defund the police because policing does not keep us safe. A study done by the American Civil Liberties Union found that 95% of arrests in the U.S. were for non-violent offenses. This means Americans are being incarcerated and criminalized for petty crimes such as traffic violations and marijuana possession. And let me just add that there are states where marijuana is legal. So we are locking up Americans for a substance that is legal in some states. This means we are locking up Americans who are not violent criminals. A study done over 60 years by the Department of Justice found an increase in funding for police did not significantly relate to crime. More police does not equal less crime. In fact, the Bureau of Crime Statistics and Research found that there was no reduction in violent crime caused by the increase in police numbers. Numerous studies show more cops do not prevent crime from happening. So why does America keep putting money into police but neglecting basic human needs? Why is America militarizing the country? A movement like this needs support from the entire community. A movement like this needs support from people just like you. In conclusion, I hope you all leave here today with new knowledge to reflect on and seriously consider supporting the defunding of police. I believe it is the only way we can truly thrive and move forward as a productive, unified society. Even if this is not something you have thought about, I hope this speech opens your eyes to defunding the police. American youth deserves better than to grow up in a country that prioritizes law and order over basic human needs, such as healthcare and housing. You should understand the importance of this issue America is facing. You should support the defunding of police and the reallocation of funds to other community programs that will benefit families and children. The time to get involved is right now. Your community needs you to stand up for what you believe in. The time for change is now. America deserves better. I believe you all should consider to support defunding the police, and by discussing how policing is highly overfunded, how police are being asked to perform too many jobs, and how policing does not keep us safe. I hope by discussing these points you have a deeper understanding to support your decision. Again, thank you for your time, and I hope you really look into defunding the police. Have a great day.